Is a program that has been in existence for some 10 years now. But to properly define what it is almost an impossibility. How do you define something that is so intangible that even the results of it may not show up for weeks and perhaps months? Gateway in and of itself is properly defined as, say, a means of freedom, a new kind of freedom that perhaps you've never before experienced in your life. A chance at this new kind of freedom. Also, it's an exploration, say, of consciousness, and most particularly, your consciousness. How does it do this? Well, I'm sure you're aware of, right at this particular moment, what we call hemisync, or hemisync, a loose term that we use for hemispheric synchronization, which is what you're here to do, to experience the process of hemispheric synchronization. If you don't know about it, perhaps I should hand out some brochures that tell you what hemisync is. Suffice to say that it is a method. It is one of the tools, and perhaps the basic tool that we use in Gateway. And speaking of tools, that's what the real process is the teaching of mental tools to achieve this freedom that we speak of. And that freedom can only be expressed by your own consciousness, not mine, not any of the people who help you go through this Gateway process. It comes from your own actions. Now, we have only one particular piece of dogma that you have to consider, and that is that you, the essence of you, are more than your physical body. What that means beyond that particular statement is part of the exploration of consciousness that you yourself will enter into. Consciousness, such a loose word to describe something that's so tremendously vast. And human consciousness in and of itself, what we know of it today, is only perhaps a fraction of the reality of what human consciousness can be. Gateway helps you explore the borders, the edges of human consciousness as we know it. The tools we provide, again, help you do and perform that exploration. One of the things that we insist on, that you do understand, that Gateway does not guarantee that you will have an out-of-body experience. Now, of course, I know you, a lot of you perhaps came saying, oh, I will have an out-of-body experience. Percentage-wise, I would say that, 15% of the people who attend a Gateway session have an out-of-body experience during the session. The tools are for consciousness, and the out-of-body state as we know it is a form of consciousness. The tools that we provide you perhaps at some time may let you achieve this state of being out of body. But there's no guarantees in this particular program that will take place either during the program itself or subsequently. If so, I think you check with our friendly supervisors who are waiting nearby, and they will be glad to say, well, I'm sorry, this is not for you, if that's your total expectation, because we can't guarantee it. How could we guarantee what any human being will do? The opportunity, yes. The possibility, yes. The tools, as I said, yes. Guarantee, no. So, with that in mind, and that this is an exploration of consciousness for you. If you learn these tools and you apply them, indeed, it will give you an indescribable kind of freedom in the days, weeks, the rest of your life. That's what these tools can do. However, we have one small problem, maybe two, maybe three. To utilize these tools properly, you have to begin at least the primary stage of understanding yourself. How do you do this? You have to understand, first of all, what you are, where you are, and later on you will find perhaps why you are. There are barriers that you encounter in this exploration of consciousness. These barriers in and of themselves are not insurmountable, but albeit they are barriers. There are two, possibly three primary barriers that will stand in your way. The first of those is fear. And the fear association and the underlying pattern of fear-rage is the primary one. And you say, oh, I don't have any fear, or I don't have any rage within me. Some of the most profound people have made that statement, and when they begin to uncover other elements in their exploration of consciousness, elements of themselves, they discover this fear and this rage. And as they probe deeper, and this is why this thing is so important, this prime position of accepting or considering a belief, this rage and fear among most people has to do with death. It's a fear that I will die because of an immense pattern that you have developed from birth, perhaps imprinted at birth, that said survive. And we have learned to take that survival imprint just because of physical living. And that survival says physical survival. And physical survival is totally destroyed if there is such a thing as death. Once you have the knowledge of that fear, and it is the undercurrent of all of us, there is the related factor, and that's rage. What's the rage all about? The rage is due to the fact that you're going to have to die. See how they connect? Fear. I'm afraid I'm going to die. To anger because I have to die. And that defeats the whole concept, the entire concept of survival. Because that imprint you have learned or believed has to do strictly with physical survival. So much of your life has been geared to physical survival. Virtually all of our culture is aimed at physical survival. So what are we talking about? Consider that first pattern. The first pattern being, I am more than my physical body. If you consider that premise, that tiny piece of dogma, as possibly being real, then you have to consider very seriously that being more than your physical body, you also may well continue to be more than your physical body. That is one of the prime possibilities of freedom that Gateway provides. But the tools help you determine that there, one, is a pattern in existence where this more than the physical you survives a thing we call physical death. That's one of the prime ones. How is this covered over? This is covered over by the enculturation that is worldwide. It's not peculiar to our, quote, American cultural system. It's worldwide. The fact that we, in turn, have established belief systems that set up boundaries, that encase all of us within a box. And that's the limit of our belief systems. And we feel safe and secure, as our culture helps us do, in these particular belief systems that create the box. And we do not want necessarily to remove the box. And in removing just a little crack in the box may seem very, very, very dangerous to all of these belief systems that have, well, perhaps we learned some of them on our mother's knee. Perhaps in school we learned them. They've been all around us. The things, the structures that create a box that limits us. Gateway helps you create windows and doors in that box. That box in which I have been, in which I am still to a very great degree. And your box is much the same. I've been in your box. My box has many holes in it now, of course. And yet that box still exists because I am here now. What is your box? I can't tell you what your box is. That restrains you. It took me long enough to find out what mine was, never mind yours. And I'm not interested in knowing the details of your box. My job is to act as a catalyst to help you create doors and windows in that box. Gateway. Freedom. Freedom from the box.